The first day at a new job can be overwhelming, but for Mia, the new maid at one of the city's most powerful CEO households, it was about to be unforgettable. She had heard stories about the CEO, a successful but often distant man, and his little girl, Lily, a bright and quiet child who saw the world differently because of her autism. What Mia didn't expect was the invisible wall that seemed to separate Lily from everyone around her. While the staff and even family friends barely acknowledged her presence, Lily's eyes held a longing that went unnoticed by almost everyone. As Mia walked into the grand living room that morning, she noticed something that made her heart tighten. Lily was sitting alone, her small hands fiddling with a toy, while laughter and conversation swirled around her. No one asked if she wanted to join. No one seemed to care that she was quietly standing on the sidelines of her own home. Something inside Mia stirred a mix of compassion and courage that she hadn't felt in a long time. Then, in a moment that would change everything, Mia knelt down and softly said, "Dance with me." Lily looked up, startled, unsure if this stranger really meant it. The room seemed to pause. For the first time that day, a connection sparked. Would Lily accept the invitation? And how would the CEO react when he saw Mia reaching out in a way no one else had? The answer would come soon, but not before revealing a side of Lily and her father that no one expected. Lily hesitated, her small fingers tightening around the edge of her chair. She wasn't used to strangers showing her kindness, and certainly not in this house, where everyone seemed to move around her without a second glance. Mia crouched a little lower, smiling warmly, letting her hands rest gently near Lily's without pressuring her. "Just for a minute," she whispered. "No one will watch. We'll just dance." Mia had always had a way with children, even the ones who found it hard to connect. She knew that behind Lily's quiet demeanor was a curious mind, a heart full of feelings that often got lost in translation. As she waited, Mia couldn't help but notice the subtle ways Lily's world unfolded, the tapping of her foot to an invisible rhythm, the way her eyes followed the sunlight on the polished floor, the soft hum she made when she was focused on something comforting. It was a side of Lily that no one else in the house had taken the time to see. Meanwhile, the rest of the staff carried on with their routines, unaware of the small, fragile moment forming just a few feet away. The CEO, busy with calls and meetings, hadn't yet noticed his daughter sitting quietly, longing for connection. Mia's heart ached at the thought that such a little girl could feel so invisible in her own home. Then, just as Mia held out her hand again, the sound of approaching footsteps made Lily freeze. She glanced toward the doorway, and Mia's stomach tightened. Who had come? Was it someone who would interrupt this delicate moment, or someone who could finally see what Mia had noticed all along? The answer hung in the air, thick with tension, leaving the dance and the connection between them uncertain. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the polished floors of the mansion. Lily's small body tensed, and Mia instinctively moved a little closer, shielding her in a quiet gesture of protection. It was only when the CEO appeared in the doorway, briefcase in hand, that the room seemed to hold its breath. His eyes fell on the two of them, his daughter, and the new maiden for the first time that day. He noticed her. Mia stayed calm, her hands still extended, knowing that this moment could either open a door or close it forever. She saw a flicker of something in the CEO's eyes, confusion, maybe even discomfort, but also a trace of curiosity. He had spent years building an empire, running meetings, signing contracts, and making decisions that affected thousands. Yet, the one person he struggled to understand was sitting right there, quietly waiting for someone to see her. As Mia and Lily exchanged glances, another layer of tension filled the room. The household staff, who had never questioned the CEO's decisions or routines, paused in the background. Whispers and sidelong glances flickered across their faces. Some were skeptical, wondering if Mia was overstepping, while others quietly admired her courage. Meanwhile, Lily's little fingers twitched nervously, torn between the fear of doing something wrong and the deep desire to finally feel noticed. The CEO cleared his throat, a subtle reminder that this was still his world, but Mia didn't flinch. She knew that what Lily needed most was understanding, not judgment. In that moment, the quiet tension in the room wasn't just about a dance, it was about visibility, trust, and breaking through the walls that had kept Lily isolated. And just as Mia was about to coax Lily again, a sudden sound from upstairs, a crashing vase, maybe, or a hurried footstep, made everyone freeze. The household held its breath, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. The crashing sound from upstairs echoed through the grand hall, and for a moment, everyone froze. Lily's eyes widened, and she clutched Mia's hand tightly, as if afraid the world around her might suddenly shatter. The CEO's briefcase nearly slipped from his hand, and even the usually composed staff exchanged worried glances. Whatever had happened upstairs had everyone on edge. For Mia, it was the final test of whether she could protect Lily while standing her ground. Mia knelt beside Lily, whispering softly, "It's okay, we'll stay right here." But even as she spoke, she couldn't ignore the tension in the air. The mansion, usually a place of routine and polished elegance, now felt like a stage set for something unpredictable. Lily's breathing was shallow, and her small fingers trembled against Mia's hand, a silent plea for someone to understand. The CEO took a step closer, his eyes shifting between Mia and his daughter. He wanted to intervene, but something about Mia's calm presence held him back. For years, he had watched his daughter sit silently in rooms filled with people who didn't notice her. Now, here was someone who wasn't afraid to reach out, to bridge the gap that he himself could. Suddenly, the sound upstairs came again, sharper this time, followed by the faint echo of hurried footsteps. Lily's hesitation grew, and Mia's heart pounded, sensing that the moment of connection could be broken or worse, threatened. The tension was unbearable. Every eye in the room was drawn to the doorway, to the staircase, to the sound that promised something unexpected. And in that suspended heartbeat, Lily finally shifted, her small hand inching toward Mia's, as if ready to make a choice, but no one yet knew what that choice would be. Just as Lily's fingers brushed against Mia's, a sharp, unexpected voice rang from the staircase. "What is going on down there?" It was the CEO's older sister, a woman known in the family for her sharp tongue and strict rules. She appeared at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, her eyes narrowing at the scene below. "Mia, you shouldn't be encouraging her like that," she said, her tone colder than the marble floors around them. Mia's stomach twisted. She hadn't expected anyone else to interfere, and now the fragile moment she had been building with Lily was threatened. Lily froze, her small face betraying confusion and fear. She didn't understand why someone could suddenly dismiss the warmth she was beginning to feel, why reaching for a dance could be wrong. Mia took a deep breath, forcing calm into her voice. "She just wants to feel seen," she said softly, but firm. "Isn't that what any child deserves?" The CEO's sister's expression hardened, but before she could respond, the crashing sound from upstairs came again, louder this time, followed by the unmistakable voice of a stranger calling Lily's name. The sudden intrusion made everyone tense, and the mansion, usually orderly and predictable, seemed charged with danger and uncertainty. The CEO's attention snapped between Mia, Lily, and the staircase. Realizing for the first time that protecting his daughter wasn't just about rules or routines, it was about understanding her world and the people who genuinely cared. Lily looked up at Mia, her eyes wide, silently asking if she should trust this new chaos or retreat into the safety of being unseen. The tension in the room became unbearable, the air thick with questions no one had answers for yet, and the stakes for Lily, Mia, and even the CEO were suddenly higher than ever. The stranger's voice echoed again from upstairs, urgent and panicked. Without thinking, Mia took Lily's small hand firmly in hers and began leading her toward the staircase, her heart pounding. The CEO followed close behind, his usual calm replaced by fear he hadn't felt in years. As they reached the landing, the source of the noise became clear. A delivery man, carrying a large package, had tripped and dropped it, the contents shattering across the floor. Relief and tension collided in the same heartbeat. Lily exhaled slowly, the fear in her eyes softening as Mia knelt beside her, brushing imaginary dust from her dress. The CEO finally stepped forward, his voice gentler than anyone had heard before. "Lily, I'm sorry," he said, his tone carrying a rare mix of vulnerability and sincerity. "I should have noticed you sooner." Lily's eyes flickered to him, and for the first time, she gave a tentative nod. Mia smiled, squeezing her hand, knowing this small acknowledgement was a victory. Even the CEO's sister, still frowning, seemed to soften slightly, recognizing the courage it had taken Mia to reach out. The staff too began whispering among themselves, realizing that something fundamental had shifted. The invisible walls around Lily had begun to crumble, just as the room seemed to settle. Lily, with an unexpected burst of confidence, turned toward Mia and said softly but clearly, "One more dance." Everyone froze. The simple words carried a weight. No one anticipated a declaration that she could step into the world on her terms, guided by someone who truly saw her. And as Mia extended her hand again, ready to dance, the CEO's phone buzzed insistently on the table. A message flashed across the screen that made even him pause. The company's biggest deal of the year, one he had thought was secure, had just taken an unexpected turn. For a moment, the mansion was caught between the warmth of newfound connection and the looming tension of the outside world, leaving everyone wondering what would happen next. The tension from the phone slowly faded as the CEO put it down, realizing that for the first time in a long time, there was something more important than work pressing on him. He looked at Lily and Mia, and a small, genuine smile crossed his face. Lily, still holding Mia's hand, felt a sense of pride she had never known. She had been seen, acknowledged, and accepted for who she was. The CEO knelt down beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Thank you, Mia," he said quietly, his voice carrying gratitude that went beyond words. "You didn't just reach out to her, you reminded me how important it is to really see my daughter." Mia simply smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. She had come into the household as a new maid, but she had become something far more significant, a bridge between a child who often felt invisible and a father learning to truly connect. The CEO's sister approached slowly, her expression softening. "I guess I underestimated this," she admitted. "Sometimes the smallest gestures teach us the biggest lessons." Even the staff began to treat Lily differently, noticing her reactions, celebrating her small victories, and offering attention she had been denied before. That evening, as music played softly in the living room, Lily twirled in Mia's gentle guidance, laughter filling the space for the first time. The mansion, once formal and distant, now felt alive with warmth. The CEO watched quietly, understanding that real success wasn't in contracts or deals, it was in moments like this, where connection, love, and patience changed everything. And for Lily, for Mia, and even for her father, life had shifted in ways none of them could have predicted, but in the most beautiful way possible.